Hello, welcome to episode 17 of Novel Knits. My name is Danelle and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about what I'm knitting, what I'm reading, and any other crafty stuff going on in my life, which still nothing else. I knit, I read, I take my kids to their things. Apparently I go on vacation too. Oh, and I work, but I don't, I have grand expectations of someday crocheting and doing embroidery and possibly pulling out that macrame kit at some point in time, but so far knitting still has my heart. Welcome! I'm really glad you're here today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I'm coming to you from my basement in southeastern Wisconsin, where again, I'm trying to work with the sunlight that is apparently the winter sunlight that comes through this window. So I hope that the lighting is okay today. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to record in segments today because I did record this episode a few days ago, and you guys, it was a snoozer. I couldn't even, it was so boring. My energy level just plummets the longer I talk. So I'm gonna try doing this in short little snippets again to keep my energy level up and hopefully make it a little bit more exciting. Plus I have a lot to talk about and I'm gonna try to take breaks so that hopefully it doesn't just like slog. Yeah, I'm coming to you from southeastern Wisconsin. I think I said that. I live here with my husband, my daughter Claire, who's 13, my son Milo, who's 11, our dog Penelope, who maybe you'll see her, maybe you won't. We'll see. She's right now on my heated blanket, so I don't think she's moving. And we have a fish named Aang, which I barely ever see, but he lives here too. Yeah, so welcome. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Novel Knit Girl, should you choose to. And if you like this video, if you like what I'm doing, please, I don't ask very often, but please consider liking, giving it a thumbs up or a heart or whatever it is, subscribing to the channel, maybe telling a friend. That would be really cool. But yeah, I'd love to have you here. We're growing a little bit. I still like that we're pretty small. But yeah, feel free to like, subscribe, and maybe we'll get out to a few more people. We'll see. We don't want to be too big, right? Because that's a little scary, but you know, a few more cool people might want to hang out here. Let's see. Anything that I talk about today, I am bringing back the show notes. So I will list it all below this video. So there's a description box and that will have where you can find me, my group on Ravelry. I did start a group on Ravelry, and the patterns, yarns, books that I talk about will all be listed below. So putting the effort in again, you guys. So if you're interested in anything I say, because sometimes I do say the wrong thing, sometimes the brain doesn't connect to the mouth, and it's a thing that happens sometimes. So feel free to anytime also leave a comment, ask a question, or let me know what you're working on. I always love to hear what you're working on in your crafty life or what you're reading. So please feel free to interact should you like to. Really quick, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I have a lot of other things I want to talk about today. I am hosting 2 year-long make-alongs this year. One is Shop Your Stash 2022. That is the hashtag that I'm using on Instagram. There's also a thread for it on Ravelry, in my Ravelry group. This is basically anything that you make this year that you used yarn or supplies that you had in your stash prior to January 1st, 2022 is eligible. So knit something, crochet something, paint something, scrapbook something, I don't care. Use your stash. Use the things that you fell in love with and purchased in the past and use that up this year. So that is what that knit along is about, or make along I should say. And the other one is Sweater Year 2022. So I have a goal this year of making as many sweaters as I can. So I decided some other people had the same idea or thought maybe they would make a few sweaters. So we decided to do a knit along. So you can use the hashtag Sweater Year 2022 or post your finished object in the group on Ravelry. So again, all that information will be down below. I have more like any of the rules or anything is in the Ravelry group. There's basically not very many rules. Shop your stash, at least 75% of the project has to be from stash, and Sweater Year, make sweaters. That's it. They can be works in progress, they can be new, they don't have to be from stash. So if you want to treat yourself and buy some brand new yarn to make a sweater, you can totally do that too. So anyway, I am going to do the vital few, which is where I just talk about a few things going on in my life rather than everything that I could talk about, because believe me, I can talk. I just don't do it very often, but I really can. I can chatter away. And then I'm going to do my finished objects, and then I'm going to take a break because I need a break sometimes. Not yet, but I will soon. So I'm going to get into the vital few. So I haven't been here for a while because my family went on a vacation, and we have not gone on a vacation in over 2 years. And I was really stressed out about it. Like, I did not realize how stressed out I was about this vacation until we got home and it was over. And I was like, whoa, I was really stressed out. My inner stress squirrel came out. Where like, I was all over the place. I was really stressed out for many reasons. One, like the Omicron variant of COVID had like spiked right as we're getting ready to go, and taking my kids out of school for a long time, going to Disney and Universal, which is overwhelming in its own way. And yeah, I'm really a homebody, so I was really nervous about being away from home for a long period of time. But it was so much fun, you guys. We had the best time. It made me think, like, why don't we do this more often? We need to do more vacations. Yeah, it was great. So we had N95 masks and KN95 masks, I believe, that we wore anytime we were indoors at Disney, and we stayed at a Disney resort. At the time, that was the rule. Anytime you were inside, you had to be wearing a mask. When you were outside, you did not have to wear a mask. And I didn't see any people not doing that or complaining about it, which was really nice. Universal Studios, they got rid of their mask mandate the day before we went, but we still decided to mask indoors because both parks were extremely busy. Lots of people there. It was a lot. So we stayed at a really nice resort and we just had a really great time. We don't vacation like this. Like, we just don't. So I think that's why I was really nervous and really scared. But the best thing was waking up every day and being like, what do we want to do for fun today? And that was what we did. So at Disney now they have this like Genie Plus thing, and then you have to buy lightning lanes for 2 rides within each park. So like the most popular rides, you've already paid for this Genie Plus thing, but then you also have to pay the lightning lane. And so we did that for like the big ticket items. But we only paid for 1 lightning lane a day because, I mean, it's a lot of money. Disney is a ton of money. Oh my gosh, it's a ton of money, but I don't regret a cent of it. We had a wonderful time. A highlight for me was for sure the fireworks at Magic Kingdom. When we went there on Valentine's Day, it was phenomenal. They were so great. We spent some time at Hollywood Studios, which we're big Star Wars fans, so that was fun. We did get on the coveted Rise of the Resistance ride, and it was amazing. And yeah, we got to do everything we wanted to do, because that was basically the thing I told the kids. Like, we're doing this vacation one time, so if there's something you want to do, we're gonna do it. But you have to. This is your only chance. So like, my son didn't want to go on like one of the rides at Universal Studios because he thought it was going to be too scary, and I was like, this is your once in a lifetime time. Like, are you going to regret this? Here I am, like, tough loving my son over a ride. And I didn't care if he didn't want to go on it, but my daughter wanted to go on it, and we had to figure it out if he didn't want to. And he was a pain. Like, the whole time he's like, I'm being forced to do this. And then afterwards he was like, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. So we had a lot of fun. I was nervous. I think another thing contributing to my nerves was about mid-January, I got a really bad migraine. I get like one bad one a year that like affects my ears. I get some vertigo. And so I was having vertigo and balance issues. I even saw like a vestibular specialist before we went because I was so nervous about like the cabin pressure on the flights and like if I was gonna have a hard time going on rides. I mean, I didn't really care if I rode on rides or not, but I knew that the kids wanted to. So I wanted to be able to do what they wanted to do. And I had no problems, no headaches, no issues in Florida. Of course, I come back, and the first day I'm back, like in front of a computer screen for work, I got like a headache. But I've been feeling really good, and that was a really big relief. So I think like once we got there and realized that like it wasn't going to be a problem, like I like anti-vertigo medications with me, motion sickness medicine, and I didn't need any of it. So that was really great too. So everything was awesome. We had so much fun. And we also went to Universal and went to like the Wizarding World, and that was fun. Everything was fun. It was fun. I mean, I didn't really know if we were gonna love this trip or not, and it was kind of a big commitment to go for 7 days, but it was a great time. And you know, as soon as we got back, of course, my daughter got sick, because that's my daughter's MO. Like, I take her out for school for 6 days and she decides to get sick and has to stay home. So she didn't have COVID or anything. It was just a really bad cold. And then we had an ice storm, and I tried to take my dog out in it anyway and slipped and fell. So I'm fine. But it's been kind of like, I wish that we were still in Florida kind of moments where there's no ice storms in Florida. So that is my vital few. We had a really great time. I'm really glad to be home. I'm excited for spring. I'm tired of winter, so. But I'm not allowed to complain because I live in Wisconsin, right? All right, let's move into finished objects. I'm wearing one and I love it so much. I did finish my Throwover by Andrea Mowry. I love this sweater. It's excellent. I made this out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in Onyx Heather, Blossom Heather, Fjord Heather, and Brass Heather. I have said in the past, I took this palette exactly from Laura of the I Heart Knitting podcast. She used this exact palette. I've copied it exactly. And she took her palette from Andrea Mowry. So instead of using Spin Cycle and Magpie, I think is what Andrea Mowry uses in her original pattern, Laura had tried to find a budget-friendly version, and that's what this is, and I love it. It is, I'm wearing a sleeveless like tank top underneath this. It is not scratchy at all. It blocked out really nicely. I love it. It's so pretty. So I'll show you really quickly. The length is really nice. The arms fit great. There's a lot of sunlight. Sorry about that. The color work turned out really nice. It blocked out really nicely. I'm just really happy with it. I do have a little hole right here. And that happened when I was picking up the sleeve stitches, and I'm not sure what happened, but I'm gonna try to adjust this just a teens. I don't know if that helped or not. I don't know what happened. I was picking up my stitches and I missed one, and then when I tried to fix it, it just never really came together the same way. But nobody is really gonna notice it unless I point it out to them. I mean, you really can't see. So I'm not gonna fix it. At first I thought maybe I would try to fix it, but it's fine. It's great. It's lovely. I love it so much. I'm really, really, really happy with it. The only modifications I did were the sleeves. I went up a needle size so that I don't have sausage sleeves. So happy with that. So great. And then I only did, I think, 2 decreases up here, and then I did the rest of the decreases down at the cuff. And it doesn't look too balloony. It looks great in my opinion. I'm really happy with it. Sorry, I'm really trying to work with the sunlight. And I realized I was really off center. So anyway, I can't say anything else really except that I love it. And it's great. I did not do a tubular bind on or cast on or bind off. I'm nervous about doing that. So if anyone like loves tubular cast-ons and bind-offs, if you have like a small project that would be good to practice on, let me know, because I'm not someone who just likes to practice techniques with no reason. So if there's like a hat pattern or something that you know of that uses a tubular bind-on, cast on. I don't know why those words are so hard for me today. Let me know, because I'd like to practice it on something small that's still like a project before I do like a lot of stitches for a sweater. So the other finished object I have for today, I don't like, unfortunately. I made the Coffee Talk Toque by Tracie Millar of the Grocery Girls. And I made it out of this yarn from Trilogy Yarns. It is the Trilogy Yarns MCN DK, and the color is Little Nugget. And I think this yarn is just way too busy for this pattern. Just too much going on. I don't like it. So it was a kit I bought from Trilogy Yarns, and it came with this big bad wool pom-pom, which I love the pom-pom. And I think I'm gonna save the pom-pom for another project. And I think I'm gonna take this hat and I'm gonna put it away to until next year, next winter. Ooh. And I think I'm going to either give it away or I think I'm gonna donate it or give it away to someone. I don't know. The other option is this took exactly 50 grams of 100 gram skein. So I have, you know, the exact same amount of yarn left. I could unravel it and make something else with it that maybe I'd like better, but I can't think of what else I would like. I like this color a lot with the blacks and the browns and the creams. It's just too much with all the texture going on in the hat. So I don't really know what I would like this yarn for. So I don't know. I'm just gonna like let it simmer for a year and I'll look at it next year and who knows, maybe I'll pull it out next year and be like, I love this hat. Like, I never know. My tastes change all the time. So I don't know, that's my thought for right now. So yeah, just gonna put this one away and see how I feel about it next year. I don't know, that was a stress squirrel project, like where I just decided to cast on a hat one day and knit it in like 3 days. And I don't know, you guys, you'll see as soon as we get into my works in progress, which is coming up next. Like, I've been all over the place. I think I cast on 5 new things. Well, no, that's actually more now as of yesterday. 7 new things. I don't know. And I pulled out 2 really old WIPS and I don't know. I'm all over the place. But now that the trip is done, I think that things are going to calm down and I'm going to get more level here and I'm going to really get focused on what I want to do. So I also learned the lengths that I will go to not work on a sweater from time to time. So, you know, like yokes are hard and then you split for the body and then, you know, depending on what kind of sweater it is. So usually it's just knit, 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 knit and finish the sweater, and then knit, 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 knit and sweater and finish the arms, and not like the brain power of doing like color work or texture, but like, I don't know, sometimes I still just don't want to do it. So I'm going to take a quick break. Maybe my lighting will change, we'll see. And then I'll be back to show you all of my works in progress. Okay, all of the sunlight is gone. So I'm back in my regular spot. Okay, let's get into my works in progress right now. So like I said, I sort of had like this panic squirrel mode going on when I went on my trip. I apparently had nothing already started in my entire house that I felt like was appropriate to bring on an airplane and a hotel room. So I didn't just start 1 new project, I started 3. So I cast on a pair of socks, a cowl, and a muscle bra for traveling. And I didn't make much progress on any of them. So that was a major fail because now I have 3 more WIPs in my life that I maybe didn't need right now. But I do like them all, so, you know, I guess no regrets, right? And then before all that happened, I was really trying to avoid finishing this sweater, so I cast on a pair of DK weight socks. And then I was like, you know what, I'm really gonna get down and finish one of my current sweater projects. And when I recorded this episode a few days ago, I was like, I love it, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna try it on today because there were these gaping armholes on the sides that I wasn't so sure about. But you know, I had just separated for the sleeves and started knitting, 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 knitting. And I was like, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fine. Well, I tried it on and it was not fine. It was like a potato sack on me and it had gaping armholes. My gauge was way off. I didn't do the raglan increases correctly. It was a hot mess, but I love the yarn so much. It was the second time trying that pattern. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to use this yarn and cast on something new. So I've cast on 2 new sweaters yesterday. So yeah, I have a lot of works in progress to show. So I'm just gonna start with what's nearest to me right now. That would be my DK weight socks. So I'm loosely following the pattern by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady. And I am holding some mini skeins held double with Bear Stroll yarn from Knit Picks. And let me tell you, I am in love. Here is the first sock. And it is lovely. I love it so, 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 so much. the yarn that I'm using. Back like 2 or so years ago, when we still had fiber share, I had a fiber share partner, Rachel, who used to be the dyer behind Diabolical Yarns. She no longer dyes yarn anymore, but she used to dye Harry Potter colorways, and some of them were self-striping, some of them were just Harry Potter colors, and I really liked them all. And so she sent me a bunch of bits and bobs and ends, and she said it's enough to make a pair of socks. And when I looked at them, I'll show you some of them together. They are all very colorful and very different. And I did not know if I wanted, I mean, I've never made scrappy socks before, so I was not sure, here's 2 more, how I felt about just like, I mean, they would be very Franken socks, like they wouldn't match at all. And these are not gonna match either, but I just didn't feel like I could take that on, if that makes sense. So holding the double and making a DK weight sock has been a great sort of solution for me, and I've been very organized. So I have used 4 colorways so far, and I recorded how many grams I used or have left. I think how many I used. So like this is my 3rd color, and my note on here is to use 4 grams. So I've been weighing, I have been adding these little notes. I have them numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So my 5th color will be my heel. And I am going to just do a fish lips because there's already a lot going on in these socks with weighing yarn and everything. So, and then I think I'll use maybe like, I don't know, one of these colors for the heel, just something that's a little different. But yeah, I am loving these. I'm also putting little light bulb stitch markers where I'm switching my skeins, my mini skeins, my scrappy skeins, so that if I am confused when I get to the 2nd sock, they are not going to match, because these are like 11 gram balls, 8 gram balls, you know, so like even if they're self-striping, it's not going to pick up in the right place. So they are going to be mismatched, but in general, they should have the same sort of theme. But I really, really am loving this. So I'd like to say that I would finish these by the end of the month, but I'm not gonna hold myself to that. I don't know if I will, but I've really been enjoying seeing how the colors come up, and Marlene with the bear yarn. These have been bringing me a lot of joy, and I've wanted to work with this yarn for a really long time. So that was one of my squirrel projects before I left on my trip because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to work on, and everything just seemed too complex. I don't know if that ever happens to anybody else, but starting a new project seemed easier than picking up something I already had. So that's my first one. Oh goodness. All right, so I will go into what I brought on my trip knitting next. So before we left, I started 3 projects that I could bring along with me and work on that would be simple and maybe have just some different yarns or different textures or whatever. I don't know how much time I thought I was gonna have knitting on vacation. I did knit on the plane rides because I have to. It's like an anxiety thing for me. And then I did knit in the hotel room a few nights. Like there were a couple nights when we watched some of the Olympics or the Super Bowl. We did kind of stay in our room more on those nights just to, or we're tired. I mean, we walked like 8 miles a day, so we were tired at the end of the day. So if I had any energy, I would knit a little bit before bed. So I started for my daughter the Wonderland socks by Tabitha Gandy. There's not a picture on here. Nope. I won't bother showing you a picture. But this is just a simple textured sock. Some slip stitches. I normally make for her now a 64 stitch sock, and this one I believe she said because these stitches pull in a little bit, and you can see like it's kind of got some weird shaping on the edges because the stitches pull in. I think I went up to 70 stitches, and I was really nervous about it, and then I tried it on my foot, and I think it's going to fit her just fine. So these are toe up, which I think went pretty well. And it's just really pretty. The yarn I'm using is Midnight Cravings, and they're Lush 4-ply fingering, which is probably not a great sock yarn. I feel like this is gonna pill like crazy, but my daughter saw this color and just really wanted socks in it. So I was like, I'll make it happen. I got a gleaner. Well, it'll be great. So yeah, this is just a beautiful blue. And you can see like there's a halo on the yarn. It's not sock yarn, but this is what she wants. So that's what she gets. Her birthday is May 1st. So I'm hoping to have these finished by her birthday. I'm not putting too much pressure to get them done now. And I should have put like some sort of stitch marker, but I didn't. I probably started them about that much before I did the toe and maybe just a few rows of the pattern. So I did about that much on the plane in a hotel. It's not a ton. And then another cast on for the trip, because I don't know what kind of knitting time I thought I was gonna have, but was the Scrappy Day Cowl by Marian Jo Scocare. So Scozare? I don't know. I'm really sorry. I'm not great at pronunciation. And this I am using Lantern Light Merino sock yarn in her Halloween advent set that I got last year. So basically it's some beautiful minis that I hand wound into balls, and I mean, they're just beautiful. The colorways, I don't remember any of the colorways. I do think I have them listed in my Ravelry page. If you click into the yarn, it might tell you if you're really interested. But yeah, so there's 13 mini skeins, and then I'm using Leo and Roxy MCN yarn in McSteamy for like a break color. So in between each of the minis, I'm gonna have a solid color. So you can see here it is. So here's the first mini I used, which is this gray with like this red pooling. And then this is the McSteamy colorway from Leo and Roxy. And then now I'm on this color. And I sort of went with another red color here, and I wish I would have gone more random, but I'm not going to pull it back. I don't have any color sequence in mind. I'm not doing it in order of the days or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of go with how I feel. Right now, this has 22 rows. This has 20. I think I'm going to do 20 rows for a while. If it starts to get to a point where I want to make them shorter, I might start with bigger blocks of color and then go to smaller blocks of color. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but this is just a nice, easy stockinette in the round project. So it's going to be one of those cowls that when it's done, I'll have a long tube that I'll kind of fold in half like this, and then you just kind of whip stitch the ends together. I could have done a provisional cast on, and I thought about it, but I was not in the headspace before the trip to do provisional cast on. So that's where I'm at. And this is in this Darth Vader sugar skull bag that I found on Etsy. The shop is called Unraveled Yarn Shop. And it does have a website too, unraveledyarnshop.com. And this is a great bag. I've had it for a while, and I think I had seen this fabric somewhere, and I just typed in on Etsy like Darth Vader sugar skull print, and this one came up, and I really like this bag. It's got a divider in the middle. It's a good bag. And then my third vacation project was not this one. This was the socks, and that was in a Tiny Human knits bag that I've had for a long time. Here it is. It's in this chestnut fibers bag. This is a favorite sock bag of mine. I don't generally like bags with zippers, but I have so many of them that I have to be very careful that I don't zip my yarn in them, because I've done that more than once, and then you have to rip or cut your yarn, and it's not great. So this is my Musselburgh by Ysolda Teague. And you're seeing this in a really good spot, I think. So before we left, I did the cast on, and I do a belly button cast on because I can't make any of the other center cast ons work. So I did the belly button cast on, and I haven't taken it out yet, so that's still there. And then I did all the increases before we left, pretty much. I think I had like 1 or 2 left. So I did this much on the trip. And I felt like I worked on this kind of a lot, but I don't really have a lot to show for it. But this is a really cool color. This is also an MCN yarn from Leading Men Fiber Arts, and it's got some great, it's a gray, super soft. It's got some neon purples and greens and blues that pop out, and I really do like this. I think it's a really subtle color, but still really, really pretty. So those were the 3 projects I brought with me. I kind of wanted things that would just go around and around and around, and I also wanted, apparently, those socks. So it was fine. I got through it, but I have a feeling these are just going to sit in my WIP pile for a while now because I am full into sweaters again. So yeah, let's see what we're going to talk about next. So then, okay, one other old WIP that came out. You might remember I showed these socks a while ago. These are my Astrid Socks by Tracie Millar of the Grocery Girls. I was going to make these socks for my mother for this past Christmas. And after Christmas happened and I gave her different socks, I was like, I like these, they're for me. So these are now for me. I made a few modifications. I did not do a heel flap and gusset called for in the pattern because I think I tried it, and this yarn, while I love it, it's a little slippery and I was getting a lot of holes. So then I just did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which worked out really nicely, and that's great. And then there was a color work band that goes around the heel flap and gusset, and I didn't really care for that. So I just omitted that and then put the color work band down here, and I did a rounded toe, and I'm really, really, really happy with these. The yarn is Leo and Roxy. It's one of their basics lines, and it's just their marled sock yarn. Highly recommend this yarn. It takes a minute to get used to. It definitely is slippery and splitty, but the softness is phenomenal. I really, really like it. Also this year, I am not feeling vanilla socks. And I think that's something you're gonna notice. I used to be someone who was like, let's cast on a self-striping vanilla sock every day. And today I don't feel like that. Or recently I haven't felt like that. I want color work, I want texture, I want stuff going on in my socks. I am not interested in vanilla sock knitting right now. I mean, my scrappy ones are kind of vanilla, but they're still like, I'm switching the yarns around and it's DK, so it goes really fast. But I haven't had the urge to just have a vanilla sock on the needles for a while. So yeah, and this one also has, even in the body of the sock, it has like this ribbing detail, so there's some texture. There's a lot going on, and I'm appreciating that. Doesn't mean I'll never go back to a vanilla sock. It's just where I'm at right now. So this is how far I am on the second sock. And I'm loving this project. So this has been getting some love. But yeah, now I have so many projects that like, I have to probably pick one of these pairs of socks to try to finish by the end of the month if I want to kind of keep up with finishing a pair of socks a month. And I may just do the DK weight socks because I could probably finish that in a couple days if I really commit. So this is in this Alice in Wonderland bag by Sally by the Lakeside. I know when I got this bag, it was about probably almost 5 years ago, because I got this right before the last time I went to Disney. And Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite Disney movies. If you saw my review of the book Heartless, you would have heard me wax poetic about Alice in Wonderland and all the memories I have attached to the Disney animated version of that movie. Okay, I'm trying to go kind of fast because this could be really long if I spend too much time on anything. All right, so then very randomly, I pulled out this bag. And this is a bag by, oh man, Studio Britta. And it's this really beautiful bag that I love to use. But I haven't used it since 2018 because it's been sitting in a basket in my living room. And this holds my Bits and Bobs blanket by Kay Jones. And I love this blanket. And I just randomly pulled it out and added this purple stripe at the top. So not very much, barely enough to bring it out and show you. But this is my oldest WIP. This is from 2018 and this needs to be finished. So I'm going to try to do some version of like a weekly pull it out and work on it for a few hours thing. So here it is. I love it. Some of these yarns I know exactly what they are. Some of them I don't. Like I know that this is Rebellions Are Built on Hope by Mint Rain Yarns. This one is You'll Float Too by, it was a sock set from Yarn Lab UK, I think. This was one of the first pairs of socks I made. This was a sock blank. This was, the purple was from a shawl that I made for my sister-in-law that was supposed to be for her wedding, but I gave it to her about a year after her wedding. So this has a lot of memories and I really love it. And I'm holding fingering weight with Knit Picks, Stroll, and Dove Heather. This is like my favorite neutral gray yarn and it's so soft. And this blanket is awesome. So I think it's gonna be about double the length it is now when it's finished, because I have about five 50-gram balls left of the Dove Heather, and I'll use some scraps. And I don't know, I think it's just gonna be one of those things that I keep in like the front hall for when we're outside by a bonfire or having drinks out on the back patio. I always get patio and porch confused, but back patio. And I think it's gonna be great. So this is something I decided to show, even though I only put that little stripe at the top in, just to say, this is gonna get some love. I'm gonna start working on this. I wanna use this bag for something else. I want to finish this blanket and move on with my blanket knitting life because I really enjoy knitting blankets. Does anybody else? I find them relaxing and rhythmic, and I don't know, sometimes I feel like I finish projects and I don't always love the finished project, or I don't know what to do with it. Like especially with shawls. I love knitting shawls, but I don't really wear them very often. I feel like a blanket you'll always use. So I think I'm gonna shift. I definitely still am gonna make shawls, but I think I'm gonna shift to being a blanket knitter a little bit more and try to finish some more blankets. And Lord knows I've got scrappy yarn to make all the scrap blankets that I want. And I'm actually thinking too, this won't be my last Bits and Bobs. I want to make another one, but probably like bigger. But again, like that gets tricky because you've got to get a really long cord to make a long blanket. So I'll have to figure that out. I know I can do it. It's just going to be a little tricky. Okay, so let's stick on the blanket train for a second. I did add a few more rows to, not rows, what would we call it? I added some more colors to my Northeasterly blanket by Skeinanigans. And this is in this Stitching the High Notes bag. You've seen it a million times if you've been here. This is what this sweater was in. I moved some things around, so now this blanket lives here in this bag, and I love the bag. So the last time that I showed you, which was my last episode, I was right here with my Northeasterly, right here. So I added, I added this Dove Heather. Again, I'm using Dove Heather in between all of my colored sections. I did this blue Dove Heather, this really pretty multicolored kind of pinky Dove Heather, this kind of brown green Dove Heather, orange, fiery orange Dove Heather, and now I'm on this green. So this is just the Knit Picks Stroll Dove Heather. And then I had done 2 months of a subscription of Row 1 yarns, and if you're not familiar, the Row 1 yarns come like this. and they're already kind of wound up, so they're really easy to use. And the 2 dyers that I got were Traveling Yarn and Emma's, oh, maybe I got 3, and Emma's yarn. I thought I also had Lichen and Lace. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, I'm so confused right now. No, so I must have 3. I also have Lichen and Lace. So my goal is to kind of use up all of those yarns a few different times throughout the blanket. And then if it's as long as I want it to be, then I'll be done. And if it's not, then I'll go to some other scraps or mini skeins that I have. I'm almost to the point, you're not really gonna be able to see, but this is getting pretty long. So I think I'm gonna add 4 more sections, and then I'm gonna start the next row. So if this is your first time seeing this project, I will then start with a colored yarn and build on another row that looks like this right next to it, and you kind of attach as you go. So yeah, this has been fun and bringing me joy. It's a nice kind of, you don't have to think too much when you're doing it, and it's nice to kind of switch the yarns around, and I've been enjoying it. So yeah, I'm a blanket knitter now. All right, next I have my 2 sweaters that I cast on. So there was a sad story with my no frills. It did not work. It was a balloon. I had to unwind or frog fingering and mohair, and it took a long time. It hurt my back. It was a sad time, but I got it done because I love this yarn combination so much, and I want a sweater out of it, but I decided it's not going to be the no frills. So I cast it on. It's still in this Nautica bag because I don't really have anything else that's big enough. I cast it on the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie May Designs. Yeah. The Cozy Classic Raglan. And so far, I am happy with this. I'm not very far. I casted it on last night. My husband and I have been watching Inventing Anna, about Anna Delvey and that whole mess. And I've actually been really enjoying it. So I'm not very far. I just started the short rows this morning while the kids were waiting for the bus. And yeah. It's so soft, you guys. I love it. I decided not to do a tubular cast on, but I don't think this looks too bad. It is so soft and so squishy, and I went down a needle size for the body because I did do a gauge swatch, and I think that might be what was wrong with my no frills cardigan, was that I didn't gauge swatch, and I think it was just way too big. Sorry, I'm just looking for my gauge swatch. Here it is. I even washed it. I never do that. I did it in the round, I washed it, and I did everything right. And this was too big. So I went down a needle size, and I'm hoping that's enough. But you can kind of tell, like looking at it, you can see through the fabric. So I think it's gonna be a little bit denser of the fabric, and I think I'm gonna like it a lot. So it's gonna be the same basic shape of the no frills cardigan, but I think I'm gonna like this construction better. And for me, I was having trouble with reading and following the petite knit pattern. It was, so many people have knit that pattern beautifully and not had trouble. So it's clearly a me thing. But the way that this one is written is easier for me. So I'm really, so far, so happy that I started over. The yarn that I'm using is Lavender Loon. It's her glitter base. I got this from Samantha on a huge discount. She put it on Instagram and said, is anyone interested in these 4 skeins of Shadow Singer on glitter? I killed the sparkle and can't sell it in the shop. And so she sold me 4 skeins of this beautiful color, which I love, for $40. And I don't even care that the glitter is pretty much dead. I mean, you can still catch hints of sparkle, but It's not very sparkly. And then I'm holding that together with Rowan Kitsel K's in steel. And I love it. This is gonna be my favorite sweater probably when I finish it, because this yarn I've been dying to knit with and wear. And yeah, so it's a new beginning. Hopefully it's gonna be better. I think it will be, because I started the no frills, and I know I'm like really back and forth here about what I'm talking about, but I started that no frills sweater in March of 2020, which was right when the world shut down for COVID. And I think that like maybe it was like my brain wasn't in the right spot. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened. All I know is when I tried it on, it was like this like 10 inches of positive ease and gaping armholes that went down here. And at first I thought maybe I could fix it, but when I tried it on, I was like, I can't fix it. So new beginnings, new life. I'm excited for this one. And because I kind of felt like instead of being halfway done with a sweater, I just started over, I wanted to start another sweater too. So I did start the Stratified sweater by Tiff Nealon, and that's in this worsted book. Let me see if I can. I have a lot of knitting books and magazines, and I've actually never knit a project out of a book. So I'm a little nervous about how this is gonna go. Because normally I mark up my pages a lot, which I am not doing here. There's not really a great picture of it that I'm finding at the moment. Let me just try one more time. See if there's anything. This makes for great viewing, right? Anyway, it's basically a striping sweater. There it is. This is the hat pattern that she kind of also has in the book, but that's the Stratified. I've wanted to make the sweater since it came out, and I purchased the yarn from La Bien Aimée to do it. And I purchased a kit. It was Amy's colors, so it's more pinks and burgundies. This is the most expensive yarn I have ever purchased, and I think I like it. I'm not sure. This is the Corey worsted. I mean, I'm not far at all. Let me just pull this back a little bit. This is the Corey worsted by La Bien Aimée, and I'm just starting the short rows. So that's the story of my sweater life today. I'm just starting the short rows. So the collar is in this like burgundy color, and then I'm going into a light pink. The other colors that I have, so these two colors, and then I have a couple, like an oatmeal and a gray, and then this awesome copper color. So I am following the same color scheme that Amy did, and then I started to think maybe I shouldn't do that. But now that I already started, I think I'm just gonna go for it. But like I said, this is really nice yarn, really, really expensive. This will be the most expensive sweater in my wardrobe, so I really hope I love it. Like, I feel like that sort of put a lot of pressure on this sweater for me, especially since I've really been thinking about budget yarns lately. And like, I have a lot of knit picks that I want to use, and so I'll be really interested when I'm finished with this to see what I think about the final product and if I feel that it was worth the price. I hope I feel that it is worth the price, because otherwise I will feel a little sad. But yeah, what else do I want to say about this? I mean, I'm not very far. This one is a long tail cast on in the pattern, so that is what I did. Like I said, I'm a little nervous about a tubular cast on, but I really want to do it this year. So gotta start, you know, somewhere. And yeah, I'm hoping to put some more time into this one in the next couple days. So this is kind of my downstairs sweater that I work on. So like if I'm in a meeting, or if I'm watching TV with the kids downstairs, or if I'm downstairs in the basement. That's when this one gets its love. And the other one right now is my upstairs sweater. So like when I'm watching TV in the evening with my husband, or waiting for the kids to get on the bus in the morning, that's my main project for upstairs. Although we all know I have a lot of projects. So I'm trying to focus though mainly on these sweaters, and then maybe, you know, I'll try to finish a pair of socks by the end of this month. But I'm pretty much trying to switch my focus back to the sweaters if possible. And this is living in this bag from Knit Picks. It's just cute. I got it with one of my Knit Picks orders. It was like, I think it like came up as like, this is on sale, and I was like, okay. I don't do that anymore, but I used to, and and it's a nice size bag. I really like it. So yeah, those are my works in progress. It's a lot. Some of them will probably hibernate now for a while as I shift back to sweater knitting, but it's nice to have these other projects started so that when I just want to do stockinette in the round, I can grab my muscle burra or the cowl, you know, and then I have a pair of socks that aren't very challenging to work on if I just want something with a little bit more interest than stockinette. So I'm generally happy with all of my projects right now. And I have a lot more that I want to get to and maybe finish this year in between all the sweaters. So my goal from here on out is not to cast on anything else for a while. Like, let's finish something, anything. And you've all, if you've been here before, you've seen I do finish things. It just takes a long time because now I'm back up to like 25 works in progress. It's okay, it's fine. So I'm gonna head into my book club really quickly. Really quickly before I get into that, because I always think of something else I want to say. For my next episode, I'm planning to bring a couple projects that I'm thinking of either modifying or frogging completely, to get some opinions and maybe just talk through a few things that I made and I either don't like the way that I finished them, or they don't fit right, or you know, and kind of just talk through what I'm maybe thinking about doing with the yarn if I were to frog it. So that'll be on next episode, because hopefully I won't have quite as many works in progress to share next time. Okay, book club. I finished a couple books even though I did not really read on my vacation. I listened to podcasts and then I listened to an audiobook. I did not ever pull out my Kindle and read. So I'm a little behind on reading, but I still finished 2 books and I'm reading 2 books right now. So I'll just quickly talk about those. There's going to be a theme in the books that I finished, which is that I didn't like the ending. So the first book that I finished is The Night Sister by Jennifer McMahon. I gave that 2 stars, and mainly because I actually thought the book was really, really good. The characters were well developed. There was kind of this cool mystery throughout the whole thing, but it had a supernatural component to it that just I didn't like. And I am fine with supernatural stuff, but I just felt like this story would have been better if it didn't have that. It just didn't work for me personally. I gave it 2 stars. It would have been 3 if it had been just a little bit different. I enjoyed reading it for sure. It was just, you know, you have to suspend your belief for certain stories, and sometimes it works really well, and this time it just didn't. I didn't buy into the story. So, but it was still a good read, and I'm glad I read it. I also finished One Day in December by Josie Silver. I listened to this on Audible, and the narrator was, what's her name? Eleanor Tomlinson, who I know from Poldark and Death Comes to Pemberley and a few other things. I really like her as an actress. I think I followed her on Instagram for a while. She's very pretty, very sweet. I like her disposition. I love her voice. It was a treat to have her narrate this book, and I love this book. It was like a December love story was like the tagline, and it, you know, it's one of those like sliding door kind of stories where what would have happened, and I don't know. That wasn't at all the right metaphor to use. But it was sort of like this love at first sight, and then they miss, and then she meets him a year later and he's dating her best friend. And so like the whole book, you know where it's going and you're like all excited. And I really enjoyed it. It was quite charming and it was kind of what I needed. And then I thought the ending was just stupid. So it had like 4.5 stars from me until the ending, and then it pulled down to 3 stars. So, and I hope I didn't ruin anything for you, but yeah, I would still recommend it because it is sweet, like good slow burn romance, but yeah, they deserved a better ending. Anyway, right now I am reading on Audible The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I really like it. This one is the one where I wanted to use the sliding doors metaphor. Basically it's, and you know, if you watch the Needles at the Ready podcast, Ray is reading this book too, and he kind of described it really well. So it's basically this woman who decides to end her life, and then when she presumably does, she ends up in what's called the Midnight Library, and she can open up these books and then try and to go into different lives that are in like parallel universes. So sort of like she lives in a multiverse, you know, we all live in a multiverse, and if we'd made different decisions, we would be living this life in this world, and this person who did this would be living this life in this world. It's a really cool concept, and I really like it. And I'm really liking this story. I don't know where it's going to go or how it's going to end, but in terms of just like having you think about the choices that you've made in your life and how your life could be different, and I don't know, it's been thought-provoking for me, and I've really been enjoying it. On my Kindle, I am reading The Girl in Cabin 13 by A.J. Rivers, and y'all, I don't like this one, but I'm trying to push through it because this is like 2 duds in a row on my Kindle. I can't tell if it's that I don't like reading on my Kindle or if it's that I don't like the books. In this case, I don't think I like the book. I think this was one of those free reads, like Kindle free, you get like 12 free books a month if you have a Kindle. I don't know, I get free books, and I've checked in, I don't have like any sort of subscription, like I don't do the Kindle Unlimited, I just get 1 free book a month. So I've been trying to read some of those because I probably have like 200 books on my Kindle, but this one is not great. I can't even tell you what it's about. There seems to be this blossoming romance that I don't trust because it happened really quickly, and there's all these mysteries going on, and I don't know if they're related. I don't know. I'm forcing myself to read it before I go to bed, and I'm about 25% through it. So I think if I just keep pushing, I can be done with it in like a week and a half. So I'm just trying to get through this one. It's not my favorite, but it looks pretty short. So that's my saving grace. But yeah, just one of those books where like, I think the writing's weak. I don't really know what's happening. I don't know. Could be me. I mean, I'm never above saying that it definitely could be me. I also find my Kindle, when I close the cover, it always moves my pages around. So I could be missing stuff. I'm not sure what's happening. I think the Kindle is going to be retired soon because I'm not enjoying reading off of it for sure. And I've got 2 stacks of books staring at me from where I'm sitting right now that I would like to read. So this might be my last Kindle book for a while. However, I did purchase Station 11 on my Kindle because I watched that show on HBO Max, and it broke my heart a little bit, and I wanted to read the book. So I may read that one, but I don't think it'll be next because, oh my gosh, I'm a mess with my reading right now. And this is really long. So I am going to say thank you so much. If you hung on this long, I really appreciate your time and your willingness to check out what I've been making and reading. I hope you'll come back next time, and thank you so much. I just love chatting with you guys, so please leave a comment and let me know what you're working on, how your stash busting is going, how your sweater knitting is going, what are you reading? I always like to know that. I obviously have a really long to-read list of books that I want to read, so I love adding to that as well. So thank you, and yeah, Midwestern goodbye. I can't help it. See you next time. Take care.